What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over how you can improve your aim in Fortnite. We have a bunch of different tips for improving your aim, also some practice methods that will help you improve your aim fast. So if you're new to Fortnite or you haven't played very many shooters in your life in general, this is going to be a really helpful video for you because a lot of these things are going to be really new to you if you are new to shooters. If you guys do enjoy the video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below what your favorite weapon is so far in Chapter 3. I'm interested to see what you guys think of the weapon pool. As of right now, mine would probably be the AUG or the Ranger shotgun. Both of those are like incredibly fun to use. And before we get into the content of today's video, just a quick shout out to today's sponsor, and that is going to be the Coldest Water. They make insulated water bottles that are designed to keep your water cold for up to 36 hours. There will be a link down in the description below where you can check them out. And if you want a water bottle that's like reusable and really high quality, check them out in the description down below. And with that said, let's get into the video. So the first thing we're going to talk about is going to be your sensitivity, because this is going to be like one of the most important things when it comes to aiming. And the way you want to set up your sensitivity in this game, I think, is you want your normal X and Y sensitivity. You want that to just feel good for hip firing. So that's going to be mainly your shotgun and your SMG shots. So when you're fine tuning your settings, look to what makes your hip fire feel good and just get that down pat. And then the next thing you're going to want to change is your ADS sensitivity. This is going to be when you're actually aimed in with a gun. So you can have a decently high horizontal in X and Y for a good like reactionary hip fire sense, and then have like a pretty low ADS sense that makes it easy to make like precision or like small adjustments in long range engagements. So the fact that you have two different sensitivities is really nice, and you can adjust both of them in the settings menu and just kind of play around with it and see what works good for you. If you have a hard time controlling weapons, maybe turning down your ADS sensitivity a little bit will make it a bit easier to make small adjustments. And then we also have dead zones, which is basically how much you move the analog sticks before any adjustment happens in game. And this is there just because all of the controllers are mass produced, so they're kind of imperfect and each controller feels a little different. Personally, I think it's best to set your dead zones as low as possible before getting stick drift. So if you set them all the way too low, you might have like instances where your character is like moving without you intending to. If that's the case, turn it up a little bit and just keep turning it up a little bit until that no longer happens. And this is going to make your controller like as reactive as possible. And this is also going to help with those precision shots. Another thing that I see a lot of players doing wrong, especially people who are new to shooters, is they just stand still while they're shooting. And strafing or moving side to side while you're shooting is not only going to make you a harder target to hit, but it can also help you line up your shots. If you're a little off to the left, then moving your character to adjust for that can be a little bit easier and a little bit more consistent than moving your right stick all the time. So to keep in mind that you can strafe, and not only with strafing, you can actually strafe aim, and this makes it much easier to track people at longer ranges. If you have to make like a really, really small adjustment, I feel like it's almost always easier to just move your character. If it's a large adjustment, obviously you want to move your entire crosshair over there. But for small adjustments, moving your character left to right a little bit makes it really easy to compensate at longer ranges and makes it really easy to be like consistent, I feel like. And that's just a trick you learn from playing like lots of different shooters. So strafe aiming, not only is it going to make you a harder target to hit, but you also, I feel like it's just going to be a lot more consistent at longer ranges. And with the AUG, this is going to sound really like obvious and basic and dumb, but make sure you're actually on target before you start shooting. I feel like a lot of people are used to like the fully automatic weapon, so they just spray and then kind of like get on target later, you know, or if they're slightly off, it's fine. They'll just spray and then adjust as time goes on. But with the AUG, you need to make sure that you're on target before you shoot. And even between bursts, you want to keep checking this. So don't just burst continuously. If your opponent is jumping or running or doing things that is making you miss shots, just throwing out bursts constantly isn't going to be good for you. And there is like a small burst delay with the AUG. So you want to make sure you're on target every time you pull the trigger. And like I said, that is super basic, but I see so many people just like full spraying their AUG when they're not on target, and they end up shooting like 4 bursts and maybe hitting like 2 bullets out of what would be 8. So try to keep your AUG crosshair on the person and make sure, even if you have to have like a little delay between your bursts, it's better to have a small delay where you're like getting your aim on and actually making sure you're going to hit the shots and hitting both bullets rather than just throwing out a bunch of shots and not hitting any. Crosshair placement is also incredibly important in pretty much every shooter, but Fortnite is no different than that. A lot of newer players tend to like kind of keep their crosshair pointed at the ground for whatever reason. You want it not on ground level. You want it to be like in the middle of your screen, or like to where your character is like, that way you can react to as many things as possible. If you're looking down at the ground, not only can you not see very much, but the opponents are not going to be there. So you're going to have to adjust a bunch to actually like get on target when you are fighting somebody. good crosshair placement is just going to make it to where you have to move your crosshair as little as possible when you're fighting somebody. So when you're in houses, kind of naturally put your crosshair where you expect people to be. And if you're using shotguns, you probably want to keep it somewhat at like head height. And even with ARs, you can do that, but you just want to make sure you're not looking at the ground and that it's going to be as minimal of an adjustment as possible. Where a lot of people go wrong with this, like I said, is just looking at the ground. And even when you're making edit plays on people, if you are someone who plays the build mode, you can kind of use crosshair placement to make it much easier for you to hit your shots. So you can make the edit and then put your crosshair on the person and then confirm the edit and then shoot them and then reset the edit. And I should have had a clip showing that, explaining that, showing what I mean by that in a creative mode. But good crosshair placement makes it very easy for you to hit shots, and it kind of reduces how much your aim actually matters. If you're just putting your crosshair in the best place consistently, then you're not going to have to adjust things very much, and it's going to make it very easy for you to get kills, get wins, and like be more consistent in Fortnite, because at the end of the day, that's what improving is. The more you improve, the more consistent you'll be, and then you'll be able to get kills more often and get wins more often. When it comes to shotguns, try not to aim in. The only time I really ever aim in with shotguns is maybe with the Ranger shotgun or with the drum shotgun. If someone is like a little bit far away, but I don't want to quite use my SMG, then I would ADS. But for most shotgun fights, like really up close, or if you're using like the auto shotgun or the striker pump, you don't want to be aiming. Typically, you get less aim assist with the shotgun, so that's not good. And odds are you're going to be using a pretty low ADS sense if you want to be good at long range. And using that low ADS sense with your shotgun is going to make it very hard to actually hit your shots, because when you're up close to someone, they can make large adjustments rather quickly. Like them jumping would shift their character a lot for you on your screen. And when you're aiming in with your shotgun, if your sensitivity is really low with your ADS, which it likely is, it's going to make it very hard for you to adjust to that and to be reactionary. And that's kind of the most important thing with shotguns. So for most fights with shotguns, try not to ADS. SMGs are pretty much the same way. There are times where you want to aim with your SMG, but that's going to be instances where you're like more medium range using it. If you're up close, just hip fire that thing, put the dot on the person and shoot the just full spray. When it does come to weapons that are based on bloom, like the SMGs, the shotgun, the Ranger AR, these style of weapons, your bullet can go anywhere within the crosshair. So just going for headshots the entire time and putting that dot on the opponent's head is actually going to make it to where you're less likely to hit shots, because a large portion of your crosshair isn't on the person at all. So what I typically do if I'm using an SMG is I try to put the dot like somewhat upper center mass, like maybe this area on them. That way the top end of my crosshair is still on their head and the bottom end of my crosshair is still on their torso, and the sides are still on their like stomach as well. When you're using bloom-based weapons, you want to just maximize how much of your crosshair is on the person, and that's what's going to end up with you like actually hitting a lot of shots, because with bloom weapons, they can go anywhere within your crosshair, and it's just completely random. So the only way you add any sort of consistency to that is you fill your crosshair with as much of the opponent as you possibly can. And then same goes with shotguns. If you just go for a straight headshot, like the dot is on their forehead, it's likely that the top end of your crosshair is just on nothing, and that's going to end up with you missing pellets. Typically, it might be a little bit better for the dot to be like in the middle of their head, or maybe even a little bit lower. That way the top end of your crosshair is still on the opponent's head, and the more pellets, you might have less pellets hitting the head, but you're going to have more pellets hitting the body, and you're going to have less pellets just missing at all, and that's what's going to result in you getting good damage. A lot of people don't understand that with the shotguns. They'll like hit somebody in the head, and they'll be like, I only got 17 damage. Like, what the heck is that? And it's because a lot of your pellets weren't missing. Just like with a bloom-based weapon, you want to maximize how much of your crosshair is taken up by the opponent, because then you're going to be getting more pellets on target and you're going to get more damage. I know it can be annoying with the shotguns being weird or inconsistent in this game, but that's just what you have to do. You have to make sure as many of the pellets as possible hit. The next thing that would really improve your aim in this game is going to be optimal keybinds. So the less you have to take your right thumb off the analog stick, the better, because if you're taking your right thumb off the analog stick, you can't be aiming while you do that. So if you have to jump, like let's say you jump with the default bind, which is A on Xbox or X on PlayStation, you can't jump and aim at the same time. And I don't know what the default crouch bind is. Mine is right stick, but crouch and jump, you want to make sure are not on buttons where you have to take your thumbs off the analog stick. So if you're a zero builds player only, putting these on the two analog sticks can be good. Like maybe left stick jump and right stick crouch. If you have paddles, then you could use the paddles for that. Or if you play claw, you can use pretty much any button without taking your thumb off the analog stick. But when you're setting up your keybinds, try to just have it to where you can jump and crouch without taking your thumbs off the analog stick, because then you're going to be able to do those actions while in a fight, while keeping your crosshair, like while keeping control of your crosshair, and you're going to be able to aim while doing those things. And that's a really big deal. And then the final thing I'm going to talk about in this video is just going to be aim training. This is something that a lot of people do not want to do, but it can make a huge difference in your gameplay. I do this pretty much every day, mainly with shotguns, but if you're someone who's struggling with assault rifles or SMGs, there will be rooms in this course that you can use. There will be a code in the description down below, but it should also be on screen now. You put this into creative, you load it up, and there's different rooms in here. There's a shotgun room, an SMG room, an assault rifle room. Use the remote to navigate the rooms if there's not a portal. So you will have the remote in your inventory and hit that to go back to the main room. And you can just practice aiming and shooting these targets. This will help you like dial in your sensitivity. If you're not sure what you want to use, you can kind of play with it in here. But just in general, aim training is going to be the best way that you can actually practice and improve aiming in Fortnite, because battle royale games are just really not good for practice. They're not good for getting multiple engagements at once. Like, let's say you play a 10 or 20 minute match and you make it to the end and you win and you have 10 kills. You had 1 kill for every like 2 minutes of gameplay. That's not very good. I know that's like an okay game in the grand scheme of like a BR, like that's an okay win, but in the grand scheme of like improving and practicing your aim, that's not very good. You can get way more engagements by practicing in creative and aim training in a very small window of time. So spending 5 minutes aim training would give you as much experience practicing your aim as like several games of Fortnite. And it's not like every game you make it to the end, or you get in a lot of fights, or you get like the ideal weapon. So practicing in creative can have lots of impact on your gameplay. I would definitely recommend it. There's this like misconception in the Fortnite community that you have to spend like 8 hours in creative to improve, and that's just really not the case. Spending like 5 or 10 minutes a day, you will see like large improvements in your gameplay, whether you're practicing aim, editing, building, whatever. Small amounts of time routinely will have much more like positive impact on your gameplay than just 1 6-hour session, for example. So yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things a lot of people get wrong when it comes to practicing in Fortnite, is they just don't do it because there's this misconception that you need to spend an absurd amount of time to see any benefit, and that's just not the case. So that's going to be it for today's video. I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope you learned some things that can improve your play in Fortnite. If you guys did enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below, like I said, what is your favorite weapon in Chapter 3 so far? Thanks for watching.